Hi, I'm John Patkin, and welcome to this walkthrough of the transcription checklist. This video will help you complete each section. It is about 20 minutes, but you can speed up and slow down, even give up if it's too boring. The checklist should take no more than 15 minutes to complete. Once you finish it, you will receive a statement in your email inbox. You will also have the option to revise or redo the checklist. You can do it as many times as you like, as it's 100% free. I only ask that you use the reference provided. If you would like to learn more about how the checklist was developed and access the references, please click on this link. It will take you to the justification of the transcription checklist and best practice tips page. This page explains the rationale behind each question in the transcription checklist with supporting references. It also has some suggested readings about how to get started with transcription. Okay, let's go back to filling in the checklist. First off, we better put our email address in there. In this case, I'll use my own. Let's begin with part 1, about the project. Here we describe the basic details of the project. The following questions will help create a statement about your project's name, principal investigator, and start date. For best practice, integrate your project dates with your work and personal calendars to ensure you meet the planned deadlines. The lead researcher needs to carefully consider who will perform the transcription and how much time they will have to complete it. Remember that follow-up interviews and focus groups may be necessary after reviewing the transcripts. Let's go through the questions. 1.1. Will you be the only person working on the project, or will there be others? Let's choose I'm the only person working on the project. For 1.2, what is the name of the project? Let's choose the one that we've just got there. We'll copy and paste it down to here. So the name of the project is Media Attitudes in Young Adults. Who is the principal investigator or project leader? Let's look at part 2, ethical concerns. The following questions address the ethical concerns of transcription. For best practice, remember that human research involves disturbing people. Those who agree to take part will expect you to protect their identity. You should think carefully about who you approach and how much you reveal about them. Basic anonymization will mask the names, gender, age, and workplace of participants. But you may also need to ensure their opinions do not reveal their identities. Let's review the questions, starting with 2.1. Why are transcripts required? I've pre-filled this, and I've put that transcripts are required for research and documentation. How will participants' identities be protected? Participants' identities will be anonymized. For 2.3, explain how participants' identities will be anonymized. And we'll say that pseudonyms and coded identifiers will be used for anonymization. Who will have access to the transcripts? In this case, we choose that the transcripts will be published on a secure website accessible only to approved users. For the audio recordings, they will be stored securely and only accessible by the research team. How about the field notes? Again, we choose that they will be stored securely and only accessible by the research team. For 2.7, who will have access to contextual information? Maybe I'll save that just for myself. Will audio recordings and transcripts be available to an independent third party for auditing? Let's choose yes, they will be made available to an independent third party for auditing. If you answered no above, explain why audio recordings, transcripts, and notes will not be available to an independent third party for auditing. And you may state that your participants did not agree to it. Let's move on now to part 3, type of transcription. This section will produce a statement explaining the type of transcripts needed for the project. Only answer the questions relevant to your project. For best practice, the type of transcription is strongly linked to the time needed to produce an accurate transcription and whether you have suitably trained operators. Remember, a verbatim transcript that includes every word, breath, hesitation, and so on will take longer. Let's provide some responses. What features are required in the transcript? We want transcripts with standard punctuation, consistent formatting, and a readable font. Question 2. Which transcription conventions will be used? Let's choose that custom transcription conventions will be chosen. 3.3. We will have verbatim transcripts. Let's move on to part 4, about transcribers. This will produce a statement about how the transcription will get done. Only respond to questions relevant to your research project. For best practice, accuracy is one of the most important aspects of transcription and is achieved through consistency. Poor motivation may lead to a high turnover of transcribers, requiring more time to train new ones. Let's check the questions. 4.1. Who will work on the transcription? And in this case, other members of the research team will do transcription. How many transcribers will work on the project? Let's put in 3. What will the transcriber's motivation be? And we'll put that transcribers will work as student helpers. And how will they be compensated? They'll be paid an hourly rate. Part 5, checking transcripts. This section will outline the process for reviewing transcripts. For best practice, it is recommended that transcripts be reviewed by a second transcriber at least once. A second set of ears will help find a lot of minor mistakes and clarify any confusing dialogue. Let's go through the questions. Will transcripts be checked? Yes, they will be checked. How many times will transcripts be checked? Let's put twice. Explain how transcripts will be checked. A complete check will compare the transcript to the original audio. And who will check the transcripts? We will have the principal investigator check the transcripts. How will unintelligible utterances be checked? Unintelligible utterances will be reviewed by replaying the audio and consulting notes. Now let's move on to part 6, language. This section will clarify the language used in the transcripts. For best practice, a multilingual transcript will require extra planning and consideration. It is good practice to transcribe in the speaker's language and translate afterwards. This will be useful when checking transcripts. It is also worth noting that other languages are sometimes used to clarify statements. These clarifying statements should be checked against the main language. Let's review the questions. Will these transcripts be monolingual or multilingual? I'm going to choose that they are monolingual. What is the main language of the transcript? And in my case, the main language of the transcript will be English. Part 7, translation. Only complete this part if translation is required. For best practice, even if an interpreter is used for interviews, it is good practice to translate all speech. Interpreters, like transcribers, can also make mistakes. Let's check the questions. What is the target language? The target language is English. What is the original language? The original language is Chinese. What other languages will be transcribed? We can list a few here. For example, Russian, Greek, and Japanese will also be transcribed. Will translation be conducted during transcription? And we will choose translation will not be conducted during transcription. Explain who will translate the transcription and how they are qualified to do so. And our answer is translation will be conducted after transcription by a qualified researcher fluent in both the original and target languages. Part 8, audio recordings. This part will help formulate a statement about the types of audio events involved. Only respond to the questions that are relevant to your project. For best practice, the length of the recordings will impact the amount of time needed for transcription. Focus groups are more difficult to transcribe because they involve multiple speakers. Focus group participants may be difficult to identify if they share similar backgrounds such as age, gender, origin, L1, workplace, and so on. It is recommended that a second researcher be on site to log the turn-taking. Let's review the questions. If interviews are used, state how many and the approximate total length. We plan to conduct 10 interviews, totaling approximately 15 hours. If focus groups are used, state how many and the approximate total length. We plan to conduct 3 focus groups, totaling approximately 4 hours. We're not going to do meetings, speeches, or other audio events, but follow the same format to provide your responses here. We move on to part 9 and the role of AI and humans. The role of AI in transcription is an emerging area, but you should be careful. This part will help you critically examine the role of AI in transcription. For best practice, AI is a good starting point for transcription, such as speeches and one-on-one interviews, delivered in so-called standard English. Recordings with accents, hesitations, repetition, breathing, nuanced pronunciation, other languages, and multiple speakers with similar backgrounds must be checked. Sometimes the AI result may be too messy, but it is still worth trying. Let's answer the questions. How will the audio be transcribed? The recordings will be transcribed by humans and AI. What is the order of transcription? Let's choose the audio will be transcribed by AI, then humans. Will more than one AI transcription tool be used? In this case, we're just going to use one AI tool. What is the name of the AI tool? We will use Otter as our AI tool. If more than one AI tool will be used, will the transcriptions be compared? So we'll say, if more than one AI tool is used, transcriptions will be compared. Will the AI transcription be checked? Of course, AI transcription will be checked. Let's move on to part 10, transcriber equipment. This section will describe how transcribers, including those checking transcriptions, listen to the audio. Only answer questions relevant to your project. For best practice, comfortable, fully covered headphones wired to a computer are the first choice for quality transcription. The headphones must completely cover your ears so that your audio recording will not compete with external noises. The headphones need to be comfortable because you will wear them for a relatively long time. They need to be wired to the computer so there is no dropout or delay, no power issues, and the audio cannot be hacked by others. Transcribing using earbuds, external speakers, and wireless connections will take longer. Let's check the questions. Using fully covered headphones? If fully covered headphones are used, they will be wired to the computer. If earbuds are used, they should be wired to the computer. If using external speakers, they should be wired to the computer. But in all cases, the best choice is using fully covered headphones that are wired to the computer. Let's move on to the final part, Other. And you can use this section to add information explaining other transcription aspects in your research project, and only complete this part if it is relevant to your project. And what we'll put here is that transcription will adhere to ethical guidelines and be tailored to meet publication requirements. Let's complete the form and submit. Check your email box for the statement. You can always come back and modify your responses or do another one. Thank you for watching this walkthrough. Completing the transcription checklist ensures transparency and ethical integrity in your research. If you have questions or feedback, feel free to contact me. Good luck with your research. Much of the content in the transcription checklist is based on my experience working on the Asian Corpus of English and the Hong Kong Archive of Language Learning. I thank my colleagues, particularly Professor Andy Kirkpatrick, for their support of my work.